What's up, everyone? LunarCrush Live, social arbitrage, June 4th. John, what's up? Bitcoin 71K.
Well, 70,860.33 apparently, but that
Oh,
is what's up.
4.65. It's crazy. Moving,
Uh,
finally.
I'm very excited. It's always a good day. It made me wear green today, channeling that energy. I don't know if I have the right green on according to your screen. It needs to be brighter, but I'll take it.
Yeah, dark, a forest green. It's like it seems like everything's moving a little bit here. I mean, I'll just click on some things. Binance, dude, I don't think people have like been paying attention to BNB.
I mean, honestly, who would have thought a year ago, right? You got CZ in jail. Like, wow, yeah.
It's like
Apparently, they still make a lot of money. You know?
yeah, apparently, apparently never been on live television before. I don't know if you've seen that one, but like this 1 year is pretty crazy. I mean, it's a 3x kind of coming out of it. I mean, this is not what we weren't really wanting to talk about BNB today, but I don't know. I keep seeing it like pop up. Um, and it's just like kind of quietly continues to kind of move up here. And like holding its own at number 4.
Honestly, probably. I mean, for me, like I sit here and I see that it's above Sol, and I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought
But
Solana? Like, there's such a positive, strong narrative around it, and there's so much activity.
so
But
many people launching. It's wild. I don't know. CZ,
yeah,
maybe he's pulling some strings still back there. But if you're out there listening, John and I are going to just kind of banter 20, 30 minutes every day. We're going to talk through some stuff in the way that we thought it would be fun to, basically, disseminate everything that we think about during the day and just kind of look at Lunar Crush together, like we do, but actually just do it, on screen here for you guys. So we're just kind of going through some stuff. Like to look at the top 10, but then what we really like to do here is sort by alt rank. So that's our proprietary metric. Alt rank's been around for over 5 years now, which is crazy. And it's always been the same. And it's just an absolute gold mine of information, but it takes price performance in the market. It takes social performance and market volume. It correlates those things. They have to kind of be moving in conjunction with each other, in order to be the top alt rank. And then every single project is ranked. And so, this rank kind of moves pretty quickly. But, it's a very, very good indicator of what's moving that day and, what is potentially going to continue to move, so like Uniswap, I didn't even see what was happening today. But they've had like, this is like a little parabolic move here. But like, here's a good example of alt rank where when things start to kind of move up a little bit, alt rank is going to be kind of top 10. And then here you can see it kind of fall, which is what you want. You want to be number 1, starts to move down. And then as that move's made, boom, it hops into the top 10. And then, that's like usually a buy signal, not financial advice, but that's a lot what we look at here. And then obviously that's moving up. Um, I don't know.
well,
Did you
it's
see what
across.
happened?
Yeah, well, we earlier go back to the top alt ranks because earlier the team posted about Stacks, which I see is number 9 now. And when you look at when was this post? This post was 2 hours ago, and it had an alt rank of 14, which had improved. So if you click into it, like it's now number 9, and it was 14 2 hours ago.
Yeah, that's a great
And
example right there.
like it go on just the one day on it. Because the one day, so like if you yeah, you see from right up there, that was like kind of normal activity. And hit post with interactions too, because you'll see like so there's 3 things happening here. There's like we went from like a normal-ish alt rank um, relative to the entire market, and then trading volume. Look at what it did. Trading volume keeps accelerating. Current hour looks like it's the highest. Social activity um, moved up a bit and then moved up more and more and more, and it strengthened. And that current hour is still collecting. It'll probably be even higher. But it's like you had social activity move up really across every metric you can see on the left rail there, and we had market activity continue to accelerate. And it's fascinating when you look at some of these over time and you see the social activity move previous to or prior, I should say, to all of the market activity. But really interesting move here. Especially when you see something coming up from like, I don't know, the ranks of like 50 to 100, and all of a sudden, why is it number one? What happened? But this was a really interesting one I thought today because it's been pretty weak lately.
Yeah, it's like it's just kind of bouncing. It's bouncing all over the place here as the price is kind of consolidating and moving down, and then a very clear move down into that top 50, and then it moves into that top 20 as it starts to move up, and then really kind of cements that. So some really good momentum trading with this that you could have done. Um, the the grayscale trust is not, you can't buy that yet, right? As
I
a
don't
retail
think so.
investor.
I don't know about retail. I'm not sure. I know that they're adding to their holdings,
They
but I'm
probably
not
I
sure.
think they have, like, the private placement one, so if you're accredited, you could, like maybe that's how they, like, gauge demand a little bit. They use that private placement for accredited investors, so, um, it's interesting though, that would be pretty cool if you can buy that, like, with your Robinhood account.
Yeah, I mean, fascinating some of these like uh, more larger these larger projects that Grayscale and all these ETFs are going to be putting together. There's like
I mean,
Chainlink is always in the discussion, and you get a lot of interesting kind of combinations of assets. So it's going to be really fun to watch those come together.
yeah. What else did we look at that? There's BNB number 1 alt rank, it popped up there.
Wild.
Dog
Again,
go to the
never
moon, still going, almost a $1 billion market cap.
like unbelievable, right? We were talking about it yesterday, and it still just keeps
Wow.
going. The very definition of a community driven movement, like I mean, look at the interactions over time on it, right? And go back like 3 months or something, and yeah, like you start to see what's going on. It's everyone's staring at price. What's it going to do next? Well, you know what? Like that's not what you should be looking at with this. Like you should be looking at, yeah, look at that right now, crazy. But the community is going wild on it, and it's not just like it gets listed on an exchange and everyone's all excited. Again,
Yeah,
there's
I saw,
like
like,
building on
futures.
Bitcoin's a movement.
I saw Biget, I think it was futures that it was like, there's not like perps on like meme coin on Bitcoin on like, what world are we living in? It's pretty cool though. Um, Man, I would have really wish I would have had more than one ordinal, three ordinals in a wallet, and then took my runestone and then turned it into dog, right?
Yeah, seriously, amazing.
These memes are amazing. It's pretty outrageous what Midjourney is doing for like the meme game. Although the simple ones are still great.
Yeah, right, right. Go check out something like we'll look at the alt rank again and look at like Jasmy, because Jasmy's been
Dude, what
like
is
un
Jasmy? I always see it up here, but it's like the one I just don't click on.
so this is what I wanted to say, pull this one up because you're like, I don't know, what is that? And I've looked it up. There's a site that was all in Japanese, I believe, that I tried to like learn more about it, and we keep seeing this coin come in. But the point I wanted to make is like speculation. Like everyone wants the narrative. Well, it does what? Well, how do you know that what it does is what's driving that? You don't, right? That would to say that the utility of Jasmy coin or any coin um, is what drives the speculation of the price. Like, oh, it's just going to have the killer utility and the price is going to go up. Well, look at the top post. If you scroll down, there's a pattern you'll see. You'll start to see that, oh, look, it's a lot of price charts and technical analysis, people drawing more lines. Oh, it's going to go here. It's going to do this. It isn't so much they launched the killer app that's going to get us to Mars. Like, it isn't that. It is a community that is constantly looking at this thing and saying, hey, you know what, there's something here. And sure, there's underlying metrics like, hey, maybe number of holders is going up, or maybe the number of transactions that are going up, or whatever it is. But a lot of this, when you see some of these larger projects, you go, oh, wow, like they got listed on this big exchange. They launched that utility. Solana is going to launch Fire Dancer, and you can put a stock exchange on it.
Yeah.
Uh, these big things. Most of the market, the top posts look a lot like this, where it's a community speculating and hoping, and it
Cheerleading.
creates, yeah. And so uh, on a project that we literally don't even know what it does, nor do we have a top narrative, we see that there's a lot of trading speculation, and I think you see that on some of these. You see it on a lot of these coins that come up a lot on the top here. Safe to say that the GameStop token is not GameStop, the corporation, yet
Correct.
it's ranking really well right now.
Slurf is back up here a little bit. Meme tokens on Solana coming back.
Very exciting. Yeah, especially as where the price is on it. No financial advice there, but really interesting movements, right?
Yeah, it's like it could get back there. It could. I think that's a tough part with like the memes is that yes, most are going to zero, but there will be more in the future than there are today, like whether you like it or not. But they
Nice.
have like it's almost like it kind of has like brand recognition a little bit. It's like Krispy Kreme donuts. It's like it's better to turn around like a Krispy Kreme or something like that than it like to start something new. And you never know. Slurf owned the world for a month there. So you never know. But it is interesting to see things pop like a little bit. But what's the market cap on this now? 165. I mean, it's still 165 million.
There's an interesting psychological thing going on there, right? Like you see it going straight up, and is it going to keep going higher? And you wake up every day, when Dog to the Moon was it 40 cents or whatever? Like you're thinking, oof, man, I've ridden this thing way up. It doubled. Do you hold it? Do you sell? What are your motives? How long do you hold this thing for? But it's a lot more like when you see a coin that's down a lot that potentially has still increasing activity, still on-chain activity, all of this stuff kind of creates a little different sense of confidence, I guess. Maybe it's
Yeah.
an opportunity.
Here's like a great example because a lot of people are like, oh, like social moves after price. It's like, sure, sometimes. Right. But here's an amazing example of the alt rank kind of sniffing out a price movement where alt rank, say you had your alerts set where you're like, hey, I'm going to hold this. And then once it falls out of the top 100, I'm going to sell it. Right. Maybe you had purchased it. Right. Here's a movement here where boom, it goes up to 260 and price didn't move in that hour.
Right.
Right. But it shot up to 260 from 31. Your bot or you or whoever could have sold right at that moment, and then you would have protected against all this downside here, right? And then maybe you have some sort of trigger kind of happening again in this zone, right? Like you
Well,
have some sort of trigger
yeah,
here, and then you're kind of getting that upside. It's like that to me that's where all this like the little gold mines are happening is like little movements like this. Man, I can't wait for alerts.
right. Oh yeah, alpha right there. It's going to be enormous.
Yeah.
Very exciting. The other thing too, and what you were just showing, like if you notice the last bit of price movement, if you were a trader going, oh wow, look, market volume's coming up, like market volume's rising, you just missed the move. Like you literally got in after the move if you waited for market volume only to move there. So it's really important to look at other signals as well. But
Yeah.
before we move on, I just want to address there's an elephant in the room here. Andrew says, "Nice hat, John." I just want to talk about the hat. Andrew, we should definitely take a trip down to San Diego. It's from Viewpoint Brewing in Del Mar. It's a great place. It's right next to the racetrack. So there's some beer alpha for everyone out there that
Andy's
likes
fan.
a pint
Andy
of
is
beer.
fan.
Does Andrew does he drink any beer?
I think
Because
I don't know, he might be off of it now. You never know.
uh, okay, well I'll buy him a pint and then we'll head to the racetrack.
Yeah, I'm excited for has opening day at Del Mar already happened?
No, I think it's pretty soon, right? I should
Okay.
Went down last season, unbelievable, so much fun. If you live anywhere in Southern California, you can take the train down there pretty much too, and it drops you off down in Solana Beach. My opinion, one of the greatest places in this whole damn country. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's our
best.
little Kentucky Derby look-alike moment where people wear the hats and everything else, but it's always nice here. So it's like not the same kind of feel as the pure Derby.
Yep.
It's like, but it's still fun.
I mean, they don't have 72 and sunny with an ocean view at the Derby, but
Yeah. One
it
time I went, we got rained on like crazy, and the sun came out for like a quarter of a second. You were just like, oh yes,
oh nice.
love it. What else are we talking about here? What else? I mean, everything's moving.
Head to stocks because this is one interesting thing. It's funny. We're like a lot of people are like, no, I don't care about stocks. I'm only into crypto, and I think that might be a tad short sighted when you think about what's actually happening. When we look here, do you notice a trend today? What's going on here? Like, do you notice
Yep.
that the top stocks are crypto related
Yep.
and
ETF.
ETFs? How wild is it that the VanEck ETF is up there with MicroStrategy, Marathon Digital, uh, Coinbase, number one. There's IBIT, like Riot Platforms. Like you start to see what's happening. Grayscale, Fidelity. Like we didn't pick these. People are talking about these. People don't talk about stocks quite to the degree that we're seeing here with crypto. So there's this massive overlap. Really, really fascinating. Like it's really a big deal. I love how Index of Suspicion here posts this here. It's all related. Can't have your head in the sand. Totally agree. You know what? The
Yep.
more you can zoom out and look at macro. Look at the level of liquidity that's out there across the world, across the globe. Um, Really big deal. Zoom out, see what's happening in all markets, and pay attention. Doesn't mean you might not buy Marathon Digital Holdings, but maybe something they're doing influences the market. You always got to pay attention and keep up with that. Very, very important.
MicroStrategy.
Yeah,
30
the
billion market
other,
cap, huh?
isn't that crazy? Yeah,
Feels
what would they?
feels like potentially a
I
little low.
wonder. I wonder. It was funny. Their conference in Vegas was like 2 days of enterprise software with no mention of Bitcoin, followed by 2 days of let's only talk about Bitcoin. I kept wondering what would their market cap be if they never stepped into Bitcoin at all? What would it
Totally.
look like? They'd be just a software company that would have a software company valuation, with software company investors only. So just think about how, like, man, like they're on a mission to get all these businesses into Bitcoin in their treasuries now. Like that's one reason alone to pay attention to that. Because if you're a Bitcoin investor, like what does the pie look like? How big is the slice of companies that own Bitcoin? It's pretty small still, and it's growing fast. But these guys are on a mission to get everyone to buy Bitcoin. So pretty. I think people know Michael Saylor. I don't think they understand MicroStrategy.
Yes, I agree with that. They don't even probably know what MicroStrategy does. And it's interesting that you could kind of pivot as a business into something like just Bitcoin, and it might not seem like an innovation. It's like, oh, you're just buying Bitcoin. Like that's not an innovation. What are you building? What are you doing? But that's kind of where everyone started before they started building. It's like, oh, I just bought a little Bitcoin. I've got it in my Coinbase account in 2015. And then it's, oh, what's this other stuff that's happening here? Right. And as much of a maxi as he is, I know he's come out and said he's bullish on something like ordinals, right? You could tell he's like, okay, there's got to be a little bit more here. He's got that little bit of bug where he's like, there's a little bit more here that we can unpack. Obviously, he's not ready to dive into Ethereum yet, but in a way, he's getting all of the functionalities of Ethereum with something, potentially like runes, right? Or a little bit more, I guess, with, at least a token standard. And so it's like, maybe there's some other things that can be built around here. And who knows, maybe the security, people are fine with the security of just building like Web 2 apps and interfacing with Bitcoin tokens, or Bitcoin. So pretty interesting when you think about what you can do and how you can pivot a business in a way in this industry, right? Man, can you imagine the heat this guy's probably taken during this
Oh
last bear
yeah,
market?
yeah.
Being
He
on
deserves
Wall
all the
Street.
incredible like
Oh,
hip hop song like collages with all his voice. That he deserves them all.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that's another level of stress that I don't know. I hope there's a movie about it someday. I want to know. Like, I want to see it on film. Maybe like I don't know who would play Michael Saylor in a movie. That's a good one.
You know what? Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon?
Michael Michael Shannon. I know the name, but I have to look it up.
He's
I could see
he's
Michael.
kind of like an indie. He's kind of like an indie
Yes, yes.
actor. He's like actually
Oh
probably one
my.
of my favorite actors. The guy is fantastic.
Oh,
Um,
Boardwalk Empire. That's why. Also, yeah, he
yeah,
was good.
that's the Michael Saylor. He'll
Uh,
play Michael Saylor.
he's
The
only
guy's
49. He needs more gray
fantastic,
hair, I think, but he'd be
fantastic
he'd be a
actor.
perfect. Yeah, I agree there. Wow.
Yeah,
Huh.
we casted right off the top of our head. Boom.
Yeah.
Um,
I
you know,
think I think too like I mean on the topic of MicroStrategy, it's interesting because they're kind of setting this path towards building in this space. I think we look at them as, oh, they issue equity and debt, and then they keep purchasing Bitcoin. It's this forever cycle of potentially just buying as much as they can. And I think they've launched Orange, this like DID thing, and I don't know enough about it. Haven't dug into it, but like when you get into building identity solutions, to do that on Bitcoin is a tremendously powerful idea. I think you immediately run into a lot of like skeptics and questions from a lot of people that are like, well, it's tied to an email address. What database is that in? Wait, is it
Mhm.
centralized? Wait, you as a company have that? And I think you get into a really weird place with a lot of these. I think Visa did something too. Like, was it Visa or MasterCard recently where they launched something that was like, oh, you can just send crypto to someone with an ID in this app, and it's like, wait, you want the credit card company to have your ID? Like, you get to this this weird place of like, how much control do you want centralized corporations that are run by a government in a country or countries to control things in the Bitcoin or broader crypto ecosystem? It's more of a theoretical question, I guess. It's like,
I'm waiting for the Starlink network, right? So like Starlink will disrupt all of telecom, right? So like you need Verizon or AT&T or Sprint, right? I think those are the only three that actually have their own network, and then like T-Mobile and the rest are all built off the back of that infrastructure, right? So like there's no other way to get like your phone to have access, right? Outside of now Starlink potentially is going to disrupt that. So you can have a Starlink phone. I know you know Tesla. Like the interface on the phone or on the car is like it's got maps, it's got apps. It is like not that far away from being like a really awesome OS for a phone. And so now you have like I want to be on like the Tesla OS phone hardware. Like if Tesla made a phone and the Starlink, it's like you could go that to me, that's like at least Elon seems to be like not caring as much about all this other stuff. It's like not spyware, but what could you build on that network if some of it gets open source? I don't know. To me, that seems like super interesting. So I think that's like a bull case, obviously, like for Tesla.
there's so many bull cases for Tesla. It just hurts. The fact that anyone even thinks it's just a car company is just like they haven't done their research. Like, it's astonishing to me. Like that. Wow.
Is it hard for you, like being
175.
in crypto though, to like, it's like this is a $560 billion market cap. Like I think what's Nvidia at 3 trillion. I'm not sure, but like
Yeah,
it's
I believe it was yesterday. Did Nvidia did what was it? The market volume of the next 4 or 5 stocks combined
Microsoft.
yesterday. Like,
Microsoft is still number one, 3 trillion. So it's like, yeah, but it's like, so if Tesla, like we're talking about, becomes the largest company in the world, right? You basically get like a 6x, right? And then it's like you go here and you look at crypto, and it's like look at like the percentage moves in alt rank today for the top cryptocurrencies, and then you look at the percentage move when you're looking at the top ones, like 5%, and then it's like you're down to number 10 and you're already at 2% with where your crypto top one Uniswap, which is like I'd call like more of a blue chip project, obviously, up 20%, and then number 10 still up like 20% or stacks up 10%. It's like, I don't know. I think that's why a lot of people don't realize like there's like the volatility in crypto, but like the upside potential is just like, there's just so much more that's there, right? Like to be able to move in that. I don't know. I think that's why people are playing it. And that's why a lot of investors have moved to it as well. And there's a lot of speculation here. It's because like you have these big moves and, people have traded forever and they think that they know a little bit more about the market than the next guy. And like, wouldn't you rather be trading over here, learning about the future, learning about how all this stuff works than like just sitting in like your Robinhood account? I don't know. Seems more interesting to me.
I think definitely most of our audience is going to say, "Oh no, I wouldn't buy any stock. I'd rather be buying, Vulcan Forged or Starknet." That's I
Yeah.
see on your screen. Like, put it this way. We talked about GameStop yesterday. which is still showing so much interesting activity. Could you imagine if you traded on Binance or Coinbase or OKX or any of these big exchanges, and a market maker posted, you know what, we don't trust Joe. We think that there's someone behind Joe and his motives, and we want to ban Joe from our trading platform because we think he might be, against the man. Like, like that's basically what happened yesterday with Roaring Kitty, and today there's a big narrative. E-Trade, Citron Research, who's the other side of this bet,
Yeah.
is influencing companies like E-Trade, which here's the insane thing. E-Trade says we're considering banning Roaring Kitty from trading on E-Trade. Isn't there a confidentiality like clause in the terms? Like, didn't they just dox him and say he trades on E-Trade? Didn't they just dox
Yep.
him? Like, isn't that illegal? Like, isn't there something wrong there? Like,
Yeah.
something's weird about that. And
Yeah. Sorry, one sec.
my point is, like, it's just when you trade in crypto, it seems like did we lose you, Joe? When you trade in crypto, it's sort of looked at very, very differently than,
Sorry,
say,
John.
I want to set up
A child running in here.
nice. Sounds
Yeah,
fun.
I was listening to the E-Trade piece there, where it's like they're trying to just spook someone, right? Like who knows if they're actually going to go down and file anything, or like, because like they're just trying to spook them a little bit, but it's like, why would you try? And like, why would E-Trade do that, right? Like now they're gonna sick the entire Roaring Kitty ecosystem at that one. They're gonna find their ways around. It's like, you just don't want to piss Reddit off. Like, why would you want to piss Reddit off?
I don't think that they fully grasp the people in charge at a lot of these large exchanges. I mean, look at Vanguard. What happened with the ETFs when that came out? It cost their CEO his job, right? And look at what's happening with E-Trade right now. If they literally ban him, can you imagine the blowback? I mean, I would go as far as to say it can go as far as putting them out of business. That big of a
Yeah,
deal, because it is not about banning one trader. It's about banning like a generation of traders
right.
that look at this. They look at the systems rigged against them, and oh look, E-Trade, you're just a player in that narrative. Goodbye. And I think that also feeds right into that same, I guess, ideology of Bitcoin and crypto of, like, self custody. It's independent of these systems, and and E-Trade doing something like, if it's true, I still haven't seen any proof to all of this that they're actually going to ban them. I've seen lots of posts about it, but if it's true, they don't get it. Like, if it's true, they're completely out of touch with where this entire generation is. So they had better hope that they're listening to what's happening, because I would venture to say anyone under the age of 30, especially, that's used to growing up in with where everything's digital, everything's transacted, there's no paper currency. They don't know what a stock is at this point. So, like, considers how far did that get taken, and how real is that?
Yeah, I mean,
Did
Wall Street Journal,
I, but like who? Like, who's
just
saying
click.
this? Is there?
Yeah,
But
they're trying to
anyways,
spook them. That's what they do.
if they do that,
Don't
if
get
they do
spooked.
that, I would venture to guess that GameStop goes up if they do that, and all of the meme stocks go up if they do that,
Yeah.
and they get a mass exodus if they do that. So maybe not. We'll see.
Yep. It's good stuff though.
Yeah. Um, there's a couple requests on here. Um, they do want to see more on GameStop. GameStop. There's some posts about that. Maybe we can pull up GameStop. Oh, you already got it up there. There you go.
I got it up. I was just looking at the
Um,
correlation here. It's just insane from the posts. Like, it's literally like dead on, like both months. Like,
uh-huh.
you're following. What do you know? Social. People talk about their
I mean,
bags. What do you know?
so it's like there's two sides to this too. There's, like, there's paying attention to that metric. There's also going on social and engaging in those communities. And then there's building. on this. And it's like I'm really interested to see more people build social applications, like using our API data and things like that. Because man, I mean, it is so correlated that there's so many other types of things that could be built on top of that. It's pretty wild.
What else did people want to see?
Uh, Byte. Remember Byte? We had Byte on a live stream a few months ago.
Oh,
That was
Byte.
fun.
These guys are still replying to
BYT.
every Elon post with like, "Hey, Elon, check Grok for and search, ask about your dog."
It's
Hey,
pretty incredible
more
though.
power to them. They're persistent. How sales works. It's gonna work out for them. All right,
So
what do
if
we
you
got
zoom
here?
out, like zoom out like 3 months or 6 months, or yeah. So like, I'm curious what did the number of posts with creators look like? If the next metric, yeah, that's interesting. So there's still, we still have an active community going on here. Um, this is where it turns into like you start doing your research and say, hey, you know what? Like, is this an opportunity or is it shrinking? Is the community still very active? Is there still a lot going on? It certainly does not look dead. It looks actually quite good.
Yeah, it does.
So
I like this
it's
is
interesting.
another great example here of like interactions like peaking before price peaking here. Interactions coming down before price coming down. Like especially with these meme coins, if they're liquid, it's like these things they are purely traded based on like social and marketing and what's going out there and like who's joining the community and starting to talk about their bags. Like that's it. They're like seeing something. You're not randomly just like posting about it saying like, should I buy this thing? Right? Like if they say that they've already bought. So what it is people out there looking, seeing other people posting, and then they buy, and then suddenly they're posting about it. Um, this is
You know
like,
what's funny is I was on a Twitter space yesterday with Mati and Quantum, and I just went up for a little bit, and it was like everyone's talking about their Bitcoin price targets and where it's going, and it's great. It's great. It's everyone's opinion. It's one person's opinion at a time. And imagine your own personal history in crypto. Imagine if you listened to everyone's crypto price target.
yeah,
Like it's more like if there were three people with a crypto price target with on any coin, great. But what does it look like with 300,000 people having a target on that coin? And did it go from 300,000 to 400,000 people talking about it? Like there's
mhm,
just that sort of like individually everyone's wrong, but collectively we're right in a way. And I think that's you'd look at Byte and go, I don't know, I don't get it. Well, wait a second, what just happened right there? What is happening? It causes you to prop up and do your research. It isn't as simple as it's a buy or a sell or it's going to hit this number because after it hits
yeah.
that number, it hits a different number right after it. Like it's more about understanding what's going on.
This is a good one to look at for these guys too. Is like interactions versus social dominance, and so interactions is just like the number of times people are interacting with Byte online on social media. Likes and upvotes and retweets and views and all that. And then social dominance is the percentage share of the voice of all of that across the entire market. And it's pretty interesting here to see, even though it looks like interactions are still kind of moving down with the price, their share of the market is actually going up, which means that other things are dying and this thing is getting more share, even though the market's kind of moving down. So it's kind of like, hey, everything's moving down, but based off what's left, this seems to have something. And then there was some sort of spike. Looks like a couple days ago, and they had a bunch of share. So that's something that you would probably want to look at here. A lot of interactions.
Yeah, very cool.
Anything else?
Uh, well, those were asked many, many times over and
Bite
over
asked a
again.
thousand times.
And then, hey, if anyone else wants anything, post it in the chat on our like wherever you're watching this, and then maybe we'll see. Let me look if there's another one. I think people are just very excited that we're streaming. Um,
That's
yeah, I'm
it.
not going to cover that one. There's a lot of different Trump tokens. maybe we spend another day talking about some of the politics and the political tokens. There's probably, um, we were looking the other day. I think there's 14 different Trump tokens. MAGA and
MAGA,
Trump
baby
and
MAGA, Trump, baby
Maybe
Trump.
MAGA. They all have the same ticker. They have the same name. Some of them. They're on different chains. It's really fascinating and like very difficult it's both art and science to have accurate social data on those. But it's like you look at some of that, and I'm really curious to see that stuff over, I guess, the coming weeks as we get closer and closer to the election. It's going to be, yeah, there. Oh my God,
More,
yeah,
yeah. I bet that was like, I bet that was the UFC bump right
yep.
there. Like, just
Uh, that was the court case, I
was it?
think. Yeah,
What day is it? Yeah.
yeah. Then this is another. Uh,
Which is like all
this
press.
is a
Like, if you live by the all press is good press, like you can't get
right.
any more popular than this.
I think that's his entire history.
Jesus.
But what's interesting here, this is Donald Trump, not the coin Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And we track him and Biden and all the other candidates that have been in the election throughout, from Ramaswamy to Nikki Haley to RFK, all of them. RFK is still going on. In fact, his activity is fairly strong. Um, but this is exactly the point about don't just follow crypto to understand crypto. I mean, look what happened the last few weeks here, where Trump's wallet is being posted with the holdings, and he's like talking about he's going to be supportive of this industry. Um, it's a critical thing to support the crypto space in the United States, and so and then Biden comes out somewhat positive, and then not, and then like vetoes the bill, and like it's like it's a battle back and forth with crypto. But what they do has huge repercussions. So it's really interesting to watch. But you have to follow what's going on with them to understand the impact on crypto. So if you're just staring at Bitcoin, it's not telling you anything. But you gotta look at other topics more deeply.
Yeah. There's a lot of content in here. I'm like scrolling through it very delicately because I have no idea what I'm about to scroll over
Dude,
in this
his
topic here.
association with UFC alone
Yeah.
is such a big deal. When Dana White is introducing Trump's new TikTok account, and then he gets 1.3 million followers within 12 hours. Like, who gets that? Like, it's not so much a advocating for him versus Biden, but it's like who actually gets that opportunity? No one.
Yeah.
Not
No
even
one.
UFC fighters get that opportunity in UFC. It's like nuts.
Yeah. It's a huge platform, and whether or not, it's all about votes, right? And getting new voters to just come over. And so, like, again, some people, they just, a lot of people are busy. It's like 100. I'm not sure how many people vote. I think it's like, maybe 50% of the legal age people like don't vote still. It's like, could you get some new voters to come in and be like, oh, I saw him with this guy, I like this guy, and that's it. That's literally the entire reason they vote. Like, I think that there's people underestimate that. And a lot of people think everyone's thinking super critically about all the small things. It's like people are too busy.
How about a question for you? If you had to guess, so the election coming up, when let's say it was election day today, what percent of the vote for crypto matters? Like, how important is it?
It's like all I know is the numbers that people keep talking about. Like, hey, there's 50 million crypto owners in the United States and there's 50 million wallets or whatever. Like, if I have to go off the thing that I just said, it's like I actually think a lot of people don't care that much, but I think that they're like crypto folks are pretty vocal. We're all over social media like crazy. I mean, we live off of like memes and creating those memes, and like there's a lot of people that probably can are creating memes and doing everything and don't even have day jobs, maybe because they're just like crypto investors, and like that's a lot of content that gets put out there, and there's narrative that could be spun.
Right.
So I don't know if we'll ever be able to prove it that like it made the change, but I think all of the data, like, Trump's campaign and is probably doing, and this is like, I'm sure Biden's campaign and RFK's campaign have done enough research to know, yeah, you have to be you need to be pro crypto if you're going to want to like win that cohort. And I think the number of positives on that side now much outweigh the number of negatives, especially with Wall Street now being in the mix and they're bag holders now too with the ETFs. Now it's like, Bitcoin's maybe in grandma's 401k, with the ETF. It's like, you can't shit on that. You got to support it. So I think they made a very precise decision to be pro crypto, because I still think at the end of the day, everyone's just trying to get elected. Like, I don't think there's any, true behavior to anything outside of like, they're just needed in the office. Like, the ego and the power and everything else, like on that level is just like so crazy that like, that's what they're trying to do. But at the end of the day, it's like, that's kind of why you create a movement, and we know what crypto can do. And so it's like, you kind of forced the hand of someone like that used to be negative on crypto, that's now pro on crypto, so positive on it. But again, like if something bad happened with crypto, like don't hold it back for 2 seconds. Those guys would go negative on it so fast if like suddenly it didn't
Yeah.
them. Unfortunately, that's where we're at. But hey, right now it's in a positive light.
It's such a weird time because like think backwards, right? Like we don't know what the future holds other than it's going to be way more insane. But think back 4 years ago and then try and remember 4 years before that. And it's so like 8 years ago, right? Um, we didn't have Trump. It was just before Trump, right? And were we talking about AI?
Yeah, no,
And
no, we were
and
not.
and then like and then think like 4 years ago. Yeah, we were talking AI. I worked in an AI company before we did LunarCrush, but it was like early stage. It was really like weird. It wasn't
Yeah,
what it is
feels like a
today. It was
different
fringe.
AI now.
Yes.
Yeah,
And like and then you think about um where we are now and think of crypto's journey along that way too. Like think there's AI and think of crypto was like this fringe. You were some cyber ninja according to grandma. Like, it was like way over there where the weirdos were in crypto. And it was like not looked at as, oh wow, this is an alternative because we have to get out of our fiat currencies because they're all going to zero. It wasn't looked at as this saving grace of the world financial system like it is now, which I'd say it still isn't fully there. But imagine 4 years from now, where crypto, AI, imagine where all of that is. And then you think about how important this election is. Like you think about the person running this ship ends up dictating how much the United States plays in it, or lack thereof.
hopefully shepherding versus
Hopefully
dictator.
shepherding. Yes. But I mean, but
Yeah,
think
it's
about it.
true.
Like,
I mean, what year is it? 2024? It's gonna be 2028, 2029, and, like, that person like, just imagine, I mean, we could be on GPT-10, iPhone 22, whatever it's gonna be, iPhone
I
19,
mean,
but, like,
you could just imagine GPT is just over a year old, right? Year, 2 years. It's like, man, like piece by piece, everything's chipped away until there's no more chipping to do. Like
AI
it's
is
what's
exciting, though.
happening.
I mean, think about how much we've integrated that into LunarCrush in just the last year, and, like, just, like, the app itself and the sentiment. We did sentiment early on. It was, like, training all of this, very basic, you know, it is like very hand done, trying to get positive and negative and neutral and very bullish and very bearish. And like then GPT comes out and you can cross train it across multiple large language models. And, the outputs are unbelievable for like copy and then like pushing a bunch of different content into that and getting out like what narratives are across the market in real time. Like that, none of that stuff was really possible at scale like it is now. And to think like where that is all going to be in 4 years is pretty crazy. And then on top of that, like your personal workflow and like how you get work done or how I get work done, the content that we can create with a small like startup and a small team, the productivity boost that we've gotten it's just unbelievable. And I just can't even imagine 4 more years of this. Like, and maybe it's just other people catching up to, you know, what a lot of startups are doing, or maybe it's some sort of entire paradigm shift forward. I mean, it's just bots talking to bots online in a way. Like, it's just these extensions. So pretty
And
crazy.
and how do we know what they're doing is valid through some kind of blockchain? How do we know, if how are they gonna pay each other if there's a transaction? They're not gonna bust out a fiat piece of paper and one robot hands it to another robot. Like, all of this intersects. It all intersects. It's just at what rate, at what point, and I'm gonna come back to the leader, like the president of the United States. If they don't participate in this, the world in the next 4 years is gonna change so drastically that it's quite literally too late. Like,
Yeah.
literally, you've been like jumped over generations if we don't participate. I mean, look what Coinbase is doing to, stand with crypto and all this stuff and supporting jobs in this country, in this space or lack thereof. And it's like these countries are just endlessly printing money, endlessly accruing debt, and how are they going to pay it unless there's some dramatic shock of a new industry that springs up, right? They're certainly not going to pay it by, you know, I don't know, like standard, jobs. It isn't going to work. Like, we need new jobs that are high paying, that are pushing the future forward. It's like, I feel like I'm running for office right now, but it's like damn,
Well,
it's like
we talked
true.
about it too with other countries, like they can invest in a way in startups, right? Like, why not use some of the capital to like create companies and get upside on that? Like, what could that do? You know, what if the US government in a way could fund all of these, like whether it's like benefits programs, you know, a lot of times people don't start startups because they can't get, especially at an older age when they actually could be probably more successful than someone at a younger age because they have experience and knowledge and connections, is because they're like, oh, I can't, like, you know, I got to right out the gate pay for Cobra at like 5 to 6K a month. Like, that's going to stop anyone, for a lot of people, from starting a business. And so it's like, how do you help these people innovate? And then maybe it's like, hey, we take a piece of this if it's successful. You know, it's
Do,
like there's so many different things that they could do.
do you remember when we first started LunarCrush? Remember that? And do you remember how hard it was just to do all of the basic stuff of like making a company? You
Yeah.
know?
It's easier. It's a little bit easier today, but it's still like you got to know the path. Like, we know the path now, right? Like, but I think it's hard. It's to do those things. It's risky, and it takes a lot of, you know, like it takes a lot of believing in yourself to that, you know, you're going to be able to push through it. And there's a lot of unknowns. And then if you're younger, maybe you've got a lot of people telling you, oh, you're going to fail, or your parents telling you, hey, it's not going to work out, or go get a job at a consulting company, right? Like, that's really like what the thought is. But if there was more people bolstering you up, and even to the point where like there's a government fund that people can apply towards, and like the government owns 1%, like manage that, get the upside. But all right, man. Amazing. Another day. We'll be back tomorrow, everyone. Thanks for listening to John and I rant and rave about the markets. And give us your comments if you want to hear us talk a little bit tomorrow about your project and what's out there. And then get 25% off LunarCrush, YouTube 25. Support us, support what's going on here. We're going to keep bringing these things to you. And that is it for us today. Thank you, everyone.